Yo, what is going on? We are back for another episode of Midnight Arcade. This is episode 6. I am your host, Lex Black. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified for whenever I drop new heat. You heard, but check it out. I have an equation for you, okay? What do you get when you add Black Air Force energy, hands, a little bit of heart, or a lot of it, some gang shit, and a time paradox? You get Tokyo Revengers. We're not going to talk about it until after the jump. All right. Like I said, man, I'm your host, Lex Black. This is episode 6 of Midnight Arcade. I am super excited to be with you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about Throwing Hands, the show, the anime, aka Tokyo Revengers. All right. Like I said before, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I drop new heat. Now, let's get into the story of Throwing Hands. All right. This is literally about that through and through. It's about gang shit. This isn't just a story about throwing hands and shooting a fair one, but it's also about tinkering with time in the past and creating new and alternate present/future timelines. I've watched up to episode 12, and thus far I have a fairly good idea of the flow of the show. So here's my review of episodes 1 through 12. It's a very loose review of episodes 1 through 12 thus far. I'm not going to get into all the crazy specifics. There is no spoiler alert because I'm going to do my best. If anything, there's going to be some very, very, very light spoilers for those who have not watched the show yet. So do not fear. I'm not going to completely ruin it for you. I hope not. All right. So we have Takemichi, the proverbial, how should I say it? Nameless loser who's kind of leading like an aimless life. Doesn't know his ass from his elbow as far as his direction goes. He kind of just floats through life like whatever. You know what I mean? He's living in a crappy apartment. He's in his mid-20s. He's working a dead-end job. And he's the constant target of life's trolling, right? It's just can't catch a break no matter what, right? So the reality is this dude gets punked by just about everyone. All right. And I mean everyone. Right. And he kind of just, again, floats through existence with no real purpose. The things in his life start to get really weird, though. When he watches the news one day and he's listening to a recent report about some deaths that happened at the hands of the Tokyo Manji gang. Now, those guys are going to be pretty important and they're pretty central to the plot. But among the victims was his former girlfriend and middle school sweetheart, Hinata Tachibana, and her younger brother, Naoto. So Takemichi is like really stunned by this revelation of the news. And it seems like he almost like forgot about like everyone from his past. I guess that's not too unrealistic. And then when he heard her name, he was like, huh, Hinata, like, why does that name sound so familiar? Oh, shit. You know what I mean? It was that kind of reaction. And then he kind of was in a haze of nostalgia, longing, heartbreak over her recent loss. So his shitty day then goes from getting punked by kids on the street. Oh, man. Getting punked by kids on the street to getting punked by his boss, to getting pushed in front of a moving train to top it all off. Like, what? Like, damn, son. Damn. And from there, you would think it's the end, right? But nah, because that, this is anime. If you didn't know already, you know things don't always go as planned. This is anime, okay? So instead of certain death by way of a Tokyo Metro subway train, he was instead transported back in time 12 years into the past. Because yes, time travel. So he gasps awake, right? And he finds that he's rocking this hairdo, which is wild. And these pants, which is even more wild, like on some MC Hammer type shit. And he finds himself back with his goon squad from his middle school days. This is where the time paradox throws a massive monkey wrench into the show, all right? So Takemichi's new journey revolves around him navigating gang life that he and his friends were so actively pursuing. And for the record, getting his ass beat because of it quite often.
Fight back! Fight back!
Because of the gang shit, right? Like, no, literally, like, bruh was getting the brakes beat off of him pretty much every time out. literally. His life was also revolved around working hard to change the past with his newfound awareness, being a 26-year-old, equipped with the knowledge of the future in his 14-year-old past form, when he is in the past, of course. His new mission, he finds out soon enough, is also to save the lives of the ones that he loves, namely his former girlfriend, Hinata. And he soon learns that in order to do all of these things, certain events either need to happen or they need to be completely avoided at all costs. So it kind of like forces a fairly pitiful 14-year-old misguided goon with a good heart into like this treacherous journey to change the present slash future to where Hinata lives and the Tokyo Manji gang stays on the right path, you know, as right a path as a gang could.
Yeah.
But the truth is, guys, with this show, time paradox aside, even though we can't really, it's such a big part of the show, I can't really push it aside, but aside from that point anyway, there's a lot of scrapping, all right? There's a lot of it. And one of the more entertaining aspects of the show is the fact that when it boils down to it, these characters throw hands and then ask questions later. They don't really hesitate. There's no gimmicks, no frills, no special abilities, just Black Air Force energy, fisticuffs, and sprinkled with a little bit of time travel. Okay, I can't emphasize that enough. This is a story of a man who lived a life filled with regrets, and he finds that he now has the chance to change his present and future for the better. Of course, when you go messing around with the temporal slash time paradox, shit gets weird. And this story is no different. When one thing changes in the past, many things change back in the present slash future whenever Takemichi travels back. And even with those changes, as the famous quote goes, some things change and some things stay the same. What do I mean? Well, without spoiling it, I'm going to try my best here. I'll say this. For much of the time traveling journey, loss is still pretty inevitable, right? And the outcomes that he worked so hard for sometimes still don't really work out. Certain realities in one past may be altered in another present timeline, but in the end, the result will still be the same, albeit via a different chain of events. It's pretty trippy when you really sit down and think about it. This is also a story that we as humans think about often. Like, what would we do if we were able to go back in time? And what would we do differently? And it's that interesting premise alone that really helps create such an allure to the show. The other piece to this is that up to this point, it's heavily hinted that Takemichi isn't the only one who's capable of traveling back to the past. And there are other more sinister players in the game that have this unique ability. It's heavily hinted as such. Now, again, mind you, I've only watched episodes 1 through 12. But I've been paying attention, and it's been foreshadowed that there have been a couple of guys, dangerous folk at that, who have that ability. It makes for a very entertaining series of events to see which new present timeline will be the dominant one that remains, and if Takemichi can actually pull off the seemingly impossible. Along the way in the time hopping journey, we meet a lot of very interesting characters like Mikey and Draken. Those dudes are the co-captains of the Tokyo Manji gang. Those dudes can scrap. They're extremely dangerous and they're extremely fun and cool to be around, right? And then we have the equally dangerous and infinitely more sinister characters like Hanma and Kisaki, whom play a major role later on down in the series. Would you really trust someone that looked like that? Like, nah, son, nah. No way, not me. But what I think is pretty damn funny is like one of the aspects I think is really funny is that every time Takemichi travels back into the past, he always ends up waking up in like a shitty situation. Whether it's like when he's coming to, it's like right before he gets knocked out in a fight, you know what I mean? Or like he's waking up to a half-naked chick like sexually assaulting him. And it's kind of like all random, and it really makes for good, unpredictable comic relief, right? And through episode 12, there were lots of unexpected twists and turns, as you might have it. I mean, imagine, messing with the temporal paradoxes. It wouldn't be good writing if they didn't include proper twists and turns, right? But it keeps the viewer on their toes with lots of double crossing, gang allegiance changes, awkward teenage love, and of course, time travel and its implications. I'm very, very, very interested to see how the rest of the show plays out. Now, what are my gripes? I mean, there's a few. This is surely particular to me, and if any of you agree with me, then maybe I'm onto something, right? I kind of just wish Takemichi, I wish his knuckle game was just a little bit more sound, because Buddy be getting slapped around out here. Sheesh. Like, it's no tomorrow. It's crazy. But conversely, I understand the appeal of such a character in Takemichi and why he was written the way he was. He's extremely relatable on so many levels, simply because he epitomizes many of the fears, doubts, hopes, and reservations that many of us would have if if we were faced with the same situation. And that humanity really helps us empathize with his character. But still, like, damn, man. Like, get your knuckle game up just a little bit, man. You just, come on, bro. Like, heart is not enough, man. You need to knuckle up and, do your thing, man. You gotta get busy. And also, one of my other mini gripes is with so many fight sequences happening, because again, it's a lot of gang shit. A lot of dudes just throw punches first, ask questions later, man. It's a lot of fighting, a lot of scrapping, a lot of brawling. And I gotta say, man, for all of that fighting, the animation is a little bit subpar, just in my personal opinion. And I kind of wish that the action sequences worked with a little bit more fluidity and attention to detail. By no means is it really like a big deterrent, you know what I'm saying? It's just a little bit of a side note. But in closing, this was just my review of the first half of Tokyo Revengers. I will be following this up in the coming weeks with my final breakdown on the back half of the show when I complete the series. But overall, it's a really fun anime to watch, and I definitely recommend it. It's definitely interesting to posit internally, like, damn, what would I do if I were able to go back to a certain time in my life? What would I change if I were equipped with the knowledge that I have in the present/future in relation to the past? And how would I be able to alter the course of my present future to create a new one? Branch timelines and alternate timelines be damned. You know what I mean? I wonder what I would do. Like, what would you do? Let me know in the comment section, man. Let's talk about it. This is episode 6 of Midnight Arcade. Again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned for the next video whenever I drop new heat. I am your host, Lex Black. This is a quick episode. I just wanted to start talking about Tokyo Revengers, and I'm going to follow through. I'm very excited, man. Episode 6 is done. It's in the books. Let's talk about it. Hit me up in the comment section. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on IG. Hit me up on all the socials, man. Let's talk about it, all right? But until next time, I'm your host, Lex Black. This is episode 6 of Midnight Arcade, and I'm out.